to the channel. So we have good news and we have bad news. Good news is we are starting to install windows and doors. Bad news is we just discovered that about half of our windows are the wrong size. So I requested 72-inch windows in width for 9 of our windows, and I was sent 60-inch windows. So we just discovered that when we went to install our first window and realized it was not the right size. So we're talking with Home Depot is who we ordered these gelled windows through. We're talking with them, and they're gonna get back to us hopefully today on what our options are, whether or not they can fix the order and send us new ones, how long that would take, or if we just need to fill in the windows on each side, redo the taping on all those windows, and install 5-foot windows. But I do need to verify that because they're factory mold windows. So mold windows means that there's a bar in the middle, and it's actually 2 separate windows that are put together to create one big window. And so code-wise in the bedrooms, we have to have a specific width of egress. And so when one side is open, because there's going to be a bar in the middle, one side, either side, has to be wide enough to allow for someone to egress in the case of an emergency from a bedroom. So I have to verify that if we did have to stick with those 5-foot windows, that would still meet code. So that may or may not be an option to install the 5-foot windows. Not ideal, but hopefully they can get us new 6-foot windows. It won't cost us anything, and they could do it quickly. But we'll see. Hopefully here today, I'll get back to you guys on what that solution is. But back to the good news, we are installing the windows that are the right size, which is just over half of our windows, and our doors so far, all but one of our exterior doors is here, so we can do those. And so we can at least get pretty much dried in if we cover the windows that we can't install yet with just some tarps or something else.
So it covers see the black lines, the little black lights? Just
all the way across the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to show you guys how to prep a door opening on the exterior. So what we're doing right now is we're getting our flashing tape along the bottom of this wall here. Do I go around the corner?
No, just to the corner. No, you come back from the corner about an inch.
Right here?
Yeah, because the other two come on.
So when you're doing a zip system, what you want to do is you want to start at the bottom and work your way up the wall. That way, water, which follows gravity, when it gets on the wall, it's going to run down, and then that way all your overlaps run over anything that goes horizontal and over each other, so that the water's always flowing in the right direction and doesn't have lips to catch on and get behind. So we're starting at the bottom here of this wall and getting the tape on. We'll work up and tape all of the seams underneath this doorway, and then we'll move on to flashing the doorway. So what he's looking out for here is when you have nails sticking out, you want them to be as flush as possible, not sunken into the sheathing, but flush so that they're not sticking out and they don't tear the tape when flashing it all. So right now, what he's doing is taping up. So we already did the seam at the bottom. Now we're taping over that. with the seam that goes up to the bottom corner of this doorway. So he's getting the tape tight. And so once we get all this tape on, then you go through and you roll everything just to make sure it is attached real nicely, and it actually has a chemical adhesion process that happens with the tape. And so you want to roll it out to make sure that that stickiness stays to the sheathing and works for a weather and air barrier. So right here, we didn't bring the tape all the way up. So what you want to do is when you're overlapping, you want to make sure this seam is going to be all the way underneath the seam that's going to go over it. So you don't want to bring it too high or past it. Otherwise, it could create an opening for water to get in.
Also, the tape adheres, the bonding goes better to the green. It's made to tape, so you want some of that tape to hit the green so it secures it better.
So this tape is a little different. This is the Zip System stretch tape. So this is the tape that we use as basically a sill pan. It's flexible flashing for rough openings, for windows, doors. You put it at the bottom and it stretches really nicely around the corners and creates a nice continuous seam for water. Any water that gets into the doorways or the windows comes down to this flexible flashing, this stretch tape, and then will come off of the opening out to the outside. So with this stretch tape, you want to come up 6 to 8 inches up each side. That way you have a continuous seal across this corner at each end. And then you want, when you're placing this, so for a window, for example, you want this to cover the entire sill of the window, but this is a door opening, so we don't have quite a sill, it's just a continuous floor. So you want to keep it in line with the inside of the wall here, and you want to make sure that it comes over about minimum 1.5 to 2 inches over the edge of the opening on the bottom and where it comes up the side. Laid down, you want to start from the middle and work your way out so that you don't create wrinkles and paths for the tape to not adhere correctly. So Zip System actually has a corner tool for installing this stuff. The other option you can use is just your square. Works just as well, we found. So we've used the square, and that helps bring it cleanly into the corners on each side and up the side of the opening. So now he's taking the roller and rolling that on. The back of the tape, the stretchy tape, has some pieces that you peel off, as you saw us peel off the larger section. So we left this thin section here on until we got this tape on, and then now we can take that piece off and pull the stretchy tape around the exterior of the opening and adhere it there. So the stretchy tape, what it's meant to do you take your corner, you start in the middle, and then you work your way out to the corner. So you can pull it down. And you don't want to overstretch it. Just stretch it out a little bit just to get a nice, clean, smooth connection. So your big goal is you don't want any creases that create openings where the tape isn't going to adhere and allow water in. So that's what's nice about the stretchy tape is you kind of can stretch things out and make sure that those wrinkles don't occur. And then once you've got that, then we can roll it. Make sure everything's rolled so it adheres nicely. So an important part of flashing and opening is also the prep work. So before we started installing any of our flashing, we made sure to grind down this opening, make sure it was nice and clean, and then we also cleaned off any dirt or dust from the sheathing and the sail so that the tape could adhere correctly. So now that we've got the stretchy tape, what we've been doing is we've been also putting in the top corners a little bit of stretchy tape just to make sure that those corners are sealed, and because it's just a little easier with corners to use. You can do it with the regular flashing tape, but we find the stretchy tape to be a little easier. So we have been using it on the top corners as well, just a little strip there.
Where'd you put those cuts?
Maybe make some more from the roll there. Or use the one on, there's that window over there. So we'll get those on first, and then we'll be able to tape the rest of the opening with the regular tape. So it's the same concept as down below. You want to make sure that the inside edge is in line with the inside edge of your stud or sill, and then you want to make sure that the outer portion comes over and around about 1.5 inches, 2 inches at least. So you want to be careful when you're using this stretchy tape, or really any of the tape, especially this stretchy tape. It really likes to adhere to itself and makes things difficult. So I put the center of the tape in the corner, get the bottom portion attached, the upper portion, and then you do your corner, grabbing with your thumbs in the corner and pulling, not too much, and then you work the rest of the tape up and around, making sure that you keep it nice and flat. And then you finish that off by rolling it. So you want to start with your sides next. And you're going to bring it down right here. Make sure you have your 1 to 2 inch right here. And then around the corner so that this corner is taped up all the way down. overlapping these ones down here. What's nice about the zip system panel is they actually have some dashed lines here that help tell you where your tape edge should be. So start by adhering this outer portion and getting that attached, and then you're going to have to make some cuts in order to wrap the tape to the inside at the corners.
Stretch.
So because of that, that's why we put the stretchy in underneath it, is so that we still have a continuous water barrier underneath, even though we have to cut the tape here at the corner to get it to wrap around this edge. So he made a cut right at the sill level at the bottom. And then he's going to do the same thing up here at the top. He's going to make a cut so that we can take this piece around the corner. Once again, you always want to roll after you do the tape. So even if you're not doing a zip system for your weather barrier, you can still, it's a similar concept with most any sort of flashing. Instead of your sheathing being your weather barrier, you have your tie back or your house wrap. This is going to be the same concept with tape over that. So now that we've got that side done, we're going to do the same for the other side before we move on to the top. After we put on our sheeting and make sure that it's blocking at all the seams on the inside. So there's a few places that we have to add some nails where we added blocking behind it. So once we have those nails in and fixed, we're going to take a piece of tape. There's a seam that goes all the way across. We're going to make sure that we get that seam taped all the way across. And then once you finish, there's one more seam up top here that will bring down and over once we have that top tape in. you can see, we brought the door over. We've got it all taped up. So the next step that we have to do is we have to do our caulking, our sealant. So we have to do a continuous seal around the door where the door is going to overlap so that we can create a sealant to prevent the water from getting through behind. And then we also have to do 2 rows of sealant at the bottom on the sill pan that we created with the flexible stretch tape. And once we do that, we can lift the door into place and then we screw it in into the frames on either side. So that's what we're working on right now. He's laying a continuous row of the sealant, and then we'll do that as well on the outside here and along the inside of this trim on the door, and then we'll lift it into place.
Did she go back in?
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna make fun of her. We're gonna need this, right? I'm not gonna jump the gun by cutting this open.
Yeah, I'm going to need it pretty soon, so you can go ahead.
Sorry. Glad I wasn't open.
So we've got all the caulk in. We've got our 2 rows of caulk on the sill.
Caulk is in.
All around. And for our sealant, and so now we're going to lift the door into place. We're gonna go in, check. We have to make sure it's in level and add all of our shims around the door in the required places. It's dependent on your manufacturer, what they recommend. So we looked up our manufacturer's recommendations. So we'll add shims where necessary, and then we will screw in our door. Okay, so we have our 2 screws in over here. That'll keep the door in place. It's starting to get dark out, so we're gonna call it a night after we finish checking, make sure we're level and plumb and square, and then we will, tomorrow, we will install the rest of our shims and screws and finish out the door, add in some low expansion foam all the way around after we get our shims and the rest of our screws in, and then our door is done. So that is how you install an exterior door. And now we'll move on, get the rest of our doors installed and the windows that we can, and hopefully be dried in very shortly. We still have some taping to do on the exterior walls that we'll finish out as we go along. But we're making some good progress, and don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys next time.